Hello and welcome back to Nelson All Over Cards. Today we are doing another Marvel Champions draft in order to promote episode 3 of Shadow of the Cast, where we're talking about the Avengers. Today we're going to be drafting Avenger Allies. We're going to each draft the top 5, and I want you to go down into the comments and vote on who you think drafted better. We're going to be talking about Avenger Allies, and something that I've kind of noticed over the weapons video is that people evaluate these cards differently. I kind of went for like raw power of the weapons, and I think overshot the cost. And so I'm trying to find that balance, and we'll see how it goes. But Villain, how are you feeling for this Avenger draft?
I'm really excited. There are so many cool Avenger characters, both in Marvel and in Marvel Champions, so it's going to be fun to talk about. I'm excited,
Yeah.
and there's so many good ones.
There really are. We are going to be doing something a little bit differently. This was a suggestion brought to us by a couple of people to do a snake draft format. So Villain is going to draft first. I drafted first last video. Villain's going to draft first, and then I'm going to draft my first and second pick. Villain will draft his second and third pick and kind of go back and forth. That way it kind of levels that playing field, because I apparently need the help. So the first Avenger ally, the best Avenger ally in the game, according to Villain, who are you taking as that first round first pick?
Well, here's the thing. Do I take the best one, or do I think you might not go for this one and keep it in my pocket?
That's always the question.
I don't think you will pick this one, and I think I will have it available, but I feel like I need to do it justice and say it, and justice is the clue there. And the reason I don't think you'll go for it is because this ally shines in multiplayer. So I'm going to say Spider-Man Peter Parker from the justice aspect. This card is... Oh, you did not look happy about that. That was definitely on your list. Okay.
No,
okay.
he actually wasn't. I cut him off the list. He's too expensive.
Well, he is expensive, and cost is definitely a factor, but it's cost, and then you've got the output it can give. And Spider-Man Peter Parker in Justice removes so much threat. If you're in 4-player, he's just devastating. It's like, I think, 12 threat from one side scheme, and then you still have a 4 HP ally with, 2 attack, 2 4, I think it is. He is so strong. I think for his cost, I don't know if any other ally really equals that. And even in 3-player, he's still really good. Even 2-player, he's still very playable, although he kind of becomes more kind of normal strength, I'd say. So, yeah, Spider-Man Injustice has to be my first pick.
That's I think an expensive pick. It's an interesting pick. He has a high impact on the game, but I mean there are heroes that just can't straight up play him, and so I think it's a big swing. It's a big swing for the first pick. I respect it. But I'm going to take first pick overall. And we kind of talked about this. Like, are we going to limit the number of like hero specific cards that we can draft? And the first 2 picks are non-hero specific allies. The first pick for me is going to be Iron Man from the leadership aspect. His ability to reduce the upgrades that you can play on Iron Man by 1, just lean into the Voltron build. You can create a ally that is more powerful than a lot of the heroes we have in the game. Throw Sky Cycle on him, let him ready multiple times, attack for 4, power gloves, ping, just reinforced suit, just have so much going on for Iron Man that you can really build around his strategy, or like him, and then just have so much impact on the game, especially long term. So that's my first pick.
Well, I think Iron Man with power, gauntlets, with reinforced suit, all that stuff. If Iron Man had all of those things, oh, absolutely, he would be, up there for me. But he's only a tiny bit, cheaper than Spider-Man Peter Parker, and he doesn't come in with anywhere near the impact. So if you're going to put a lot of upgrades on him, oh, that's really expensive now. So then I got to tell you,
but
that's really costly.
They're not expensive. They cost 0.
Yeah, but if you're putting multiple on there to get him to, up in strength, that's gonna, accumulate. That's gonna accumulate.
All I'm saying is that I don't need a double in my hand to play Iron Man with a 5 hand size, whereas you will need a double or a generator to play Peter Parker.
unless you start alter ego, but it's a multiplayer thing. You wouldn't know about that.
I wouldn't. Okay, so wrapping back, snake draft style, I get a second pick. I went with a fairly expensive ally to start us out, and so I'm going to offset that a little bit with another leadership ally here, and that's going to be White Tiger. I think White Tiger gets that card draw. She costs 3, and she draws the number of cards equal to the villain stage number. So if you're playing an expert, that's 2 card draws at the beginning of the game, 3 card draw at the end of the game. So it's a 2/2 ally, comes in, thwarts for 2, nice chump blocker, and will get you your cards back depending on what the stage of the game. So really cheap, really efficient, allows you to see a lot more of your kit. So if you're playing with heroes that want to see those, hero specific cards, you're going to be able to cipher through a lot of the deck. And so White Tiger, I think, is a nice nice contrast to that expensive Tony Stark.
Yeah, White Tiger, very strong character, definitely. Really interesting going for 2 leadership allies, definitely going for some power there. But yeah, we all like White Tiger. You cannot go, there is no deck that White Tiger doesn't belong in, unless, if you're on expert, definitely to get all that card draw. But in standard, falls off a little bit, still good, but I could take it or pass, whatever.
Yeah. And like now you're going into 2 draft picks, and I will say that this is significantly more stressful than like having 1 draft pick, because I'm like, I have too many things that I don't want you to take. So you got 2. What's your second pick?
So yeah, I mean, I agree with the stressfulness. I was like, please don't take this, please don't take this. And you didn't go for any of the signature ones, which is good, because now I'm going to go for a signature ally. And
Okay.
I'm kind of torn between 2, but I'm going to go for Spider-Woman signature ally, Captain Marvel, who is, yeah, a little bit expensive, but she draws you cards. And if you heal her, anything like that, you're going to make up the difference. But for Spider-Woman specifically, who she belongs to, you're going to get more cards, gives you more chance to, get more stat boosts from your, what is it called? Superhuman agility, I think it's called. Her ability, anyway. So yeah, Spider-Woman very much likes Captain Marvel, and I think any hero would like Captain Marvel immensely. Yeah, very strong card. 2 fort, 2 attack, very well rounded. And yeah, what do you think of that?
That's a good pick. She was probably the next one I was going to take. I'm still happy with the White Tiger pick over that, just because the immediate influx of cards I think is better than the the long term consistency of cards. But I'm happy. I'm happy that she at least got drafted in that second round. She deserves that second round draft pick spot. What about your third round?
Well, resources aren't everything. And I'm kind of taking the multiplayer angle a little bit here again, although I still think this character's fine in solo. But there is a character that is, I would say, highly underrated, largely forgotten about, and that is Hawkeye, Clint Barton. This guy is a leadership card with a twist. He is all about hitting minions. When a minion enters play, he gets to basically, fire an arrow at them, loose an arrow. And he can do that so many times. I think if you use every one of his charges up, it comes to 10 damage. And he can still, fort or attack, with his 1 attack or fort a little bit on the side and then block for you in the end. That kind of output is really strong. And in multiplayer, when you're getting lots of minions and tough is so prevalent, he can ping those off straight away. If they're low health minions, he can just take them out immediately. And I think that kind of value is hard to replicate.
It is that's a good pick. I like that pick a lot. The especially in the multiplayer game, I have found that he doesn't always get his full utilization outside of specific or scenarios in a solo game. But if you're running with 4, you can ping him. I think he has 4 arrow counters that do 2 damage each, right? Like, so when a minion enters play, you can ping him or ping the minion for 1.
Maybe that 10 that I said was, calculating in his basic attacks. He can do twice. Well, yeah,
he's got some efficiency. He's got some efficiency there. Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I wrote him down, and he didn't make my top 5. But I'm also more. I'm that true solo, and I need to break out of that a little bit. I need to be thinking about what all is going on. Ooh, there's some really good. There's some really good allies out there. I think next, since you went with a minion slayer, I'm going to have to counter that pick and move up in the draft order, Thor Odinson from the aggression aspect. He comes in, he has a 3 attack, he has toughness, he cost 3, I think. I believe it's only 3. Yeah, so he's really easy to play. And when you attack, you can spend a lightning resource and attack all the minions. And that efficiency can 3 attack can clear a lot of the minions. He can trigger that multiple times because he has that tough status card, or he has the flexibility to take a big hit, soak that tough, and then retaliate back with his big attack. And if you don't need to clear minions, he is a really efficient attacker. You can just throw that damage straight at the villain, and you're going to be happy with that. So coming out of aggression with Thor Odinson as my third pick. Yeah, third pick. Fourth pick. Third pick. The snake draft is messing with me.
It's gonna be fourth pick because I started. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Thor Odinson. That's my minion slayer ally on my list.
Third pick.
Third pick. Yeah.
It is fun. Yeah, I really like Thor Odinson. I think, in some ways he's underrated. I still put him in a lot of my aggression decks. So I really like that pick. He didn't make my, list of potential ones for this, although I do really like him. He's a really solid ally. So yeah, I think that's a good pick. I hope people, if they're not using him that often, give him another chance. Defend twice. You can just keep attacking with him. You can attack multiple minions sometimes. Really, really cool allies. So yeah, I respect that. I like that one a lot.
Nice. Yeah. And for my fourth pick, we're going to go with my first signature ally on the list. I really thought that there would be more signature allies on my list, but it ended up there are a lot of really good aspect allies, and I think that they have an inherent boost. And the way that I was kind of thinking about them is that any hero can run them, and so it just allows them to be used, and I think they're a little bit better because of that. But I also want to take some signature allies because there's some really good ones out there. I am going to take Captain Marvel was going to be my first one, but my backup is Winter Soldier from Black Widow. So Winter Soldier costs 4. He's a 2/2, but he reduces the cost for each prep card you have. And if you're playing Black Widow, you got prep cards. It's very easy to get this as a 0 cost ally and just be able to flex with that 2/2. You can thwart, which in solo, you have a lot of threat mitigation with Black Widow, but she also has that evenly distributed stat line, so she can attack, he can attack, you can take out the minion, you can bomb a big side scheme with that team up right there. And just being able to get a 0 cost ally into play, I think is so incredibly powerful, and a 2/2 is just really good there. So that's going to be my fourth pick, is the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes.
Yeah, I really like Winter Soldier. He almost made my list as well. I was really torn between him and my other second, signature ally pick that I was looking at. And he's good. If you get him for 0, he's really good. But I would say the downside with him is if you don't have preparations in play, then he's a really bad deal. If I don't have preparations, I'm definitely not playing him, which is it's a factor. And even if you do play him for 0, you've got to get through all his hit points. So you're not benefiting. You're not benefiting from that too many times in one game, in my experience, depending on the game. But yeah, that's a good card.
Alrighty, bring us home for your fourth and fifth pick. What are you going to round out your draft with?
I'm pretty excited. I had my top 5 that I was hoping to get when we went into this, and they're both still available.
Oh, nice.
Now, White Tiger was, really fighting to get on there, but I'm just not excited by White Tiger, although I do use White Tiger. So I'm gonna lead for my fourth pick with another signature ally, which I almost gave away when talking about Captain Marvel, which is the Spider-Woman signature ally that Captain Marvel has. Because that ally is just very good. Signature ally bringing in a confuse and then having those well-rounded stats to use, I just think is really valuable, especially for Captain Marvel herself, who it is her ally. She wants to go alter ego. She gets all that card draw and benefit, which is really powerful. And yeah, big fan of the Spider-Woman signature ally.
She's good. She's good. There's a lot of confuse now. I'm trying to figure out how I can fight this pick, but
you can make something up.
Yeah, she's a good ally. she comes in. She's got that block. She's got the confuse. Very solid pick for Spider-Woman. I like that one. I like that one a lot.
And Then we've got my fifth pick, which I think is going to surprise people a little bit. Hopefully, it's going to surprise you. I really like this card, though. In terms of power, it can be exceptionally powerful, but sometimes not so much. It really has a lot of variety and variance, and I just love it. It's really iconic for me, and it's also cheaper than a lot of the picks I've been going with, and that is going to be Hulk from the aggression aspect.
Oh yeah.
Hulk, mm, he's so much fun. So he's 2 cost, and he has 3 attack and 5 hit points. For that cost, that is, there is no real contender. However, he does kind of have a catch where when he, attacks, you have to discard a card, and depending on the resource, he can just, jump into the distance, never to be seen again, or he can, actually, it's a mental resource which does that. So I guess Bruce Banner takes back over, but I like to think he just leaps away.
Yeah.
But even getting an energy resource which damages every character in a lot of situations, especially solo when there's not other characters to consider, that can still be pretty useful, honestly. And if there are more enemies out than you have allies, maybe that's profitable. But if you hit a physical, the total result there is that Hulk has attacked once and done 5 damage, and he can potentially do that 4 more times or 3 more times and then block. You can also block with him, you can defend with him, and in many situations, especially on standard or the lower attack villains, he can block multiple times, and he can block, take indirect damage for you, or take a quick strike minion attack, and that is immensely valuable. And I've actually been using him recently with Angel in rush decks. So because Angel has 6 physicals, and only 3 energies, 3 mentals, I think it is. Does that make 15? I feel like I'm missing. Oh, wild! He's got 2 wilds. But even in a rush deck, if you hit a wild on Hulk, everything happens.
Yeah.
That is still good. That is still a net total of 6 damage to the enemies, at least, even if you are losing Hulk. So, yeah.
I really like Hulk as a blocker. That 2-cost blocker is really efficient, especially if you have a lower attack villain. You can probably get 2, maybe even 3 blocks out of Hulk, which seems to be just really great for 2 costs. And then also, I think my favorite utilization of Hulk, it's not the most optimal by any means, but let him shovel some sand during Sandman and just let him sit out there and just remove 3 sand counters, because then there's no, apparently all of his chaos, wow, a lot of his chaos goes away with when he has a shovel in his hands for those sands counters. But really good pick. Hulk was on my list. So I think I'm gonna round it out with my 5th pick to finish off with a really flexible ally, and that's gonna be AntMan Hank Pym. And so this is a 0-cost ally that you can overpay, and based on how much you overpay, that's how much health he has. So you can sit him out there and he can be a 1-cost ally. You can put him onto the table, he can block, or what I really like to do is, maybe if I have a double or a power of leadership, to double those resources, get him out there for 2, thwart for 2, attack for 2. He has a really nice stat line, and then take a big hit. Or if you're playing that long game, you can pay 4 for him. He's almost like a sink in that sense, where if you have more resources than you know what to do with, you can flood them with Ant-Man, and then you have a ally on the table for 3-4 turns that is handling all the threat in a solo game, or a lot of the threat in like a multiplayer game, as well as that hit. So you can cycle him back, and next time you play him, you may only want to play 1, because the game is in a different game state. So he's one of those allies that will flex and change based on where you are and when you draw him. If you draw him in your opening hand, you may want to spend a little bit more, or if you have a huge attack from Venom coming up and you hopefully don't get overkill or something, you can throw him out there as a really cheap blocker. So that's going to round it out. What do you think about Ant-Man?
I really like Ant-Man. He was, one of my backup options to pick. I really like, how flexible he is in terms of his cost. I like his interaction with team training. If you have +1 HP whenever he comes in, you can just use him for cheap really. So he's really good in that
That's
regard.
really funny.
Yeah, it's really good. I think people sometimes forget about these older card and interactions, but yeah, it's still good to this day. You can put that in any deck, and you can put Ant-Man in any leadership deck because he is so flexible. So I really like that pick. That's, maybe not as good as my picks, but no, I actually really like that pick. That's really good.
Awesome. Yeah, so you watching the video, let us know down in the comments who you think drafted better, who has the better overall draft for Avenger Allies, and also let us know if we missed any, because there were a couple of weapons in our last video that we missed. We missed a couple of really good ones that I think could have made that top 10, and so let us know, because I'm always looking forward to seeing what we missed. Because sometimes I get in the mindset of the draft and kind of block everything else out and forget about that one specific card that we should have definitely taken. But thank you, Villain, for coming on. All of your information is down below, as well as Shadow of the Cast episode 3 will be out probably tomorrow as of the airing of this. And I think I kind of, if it's not, it's not. But if I remember, I'll put the link down below. But thank you for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.